So today I wanted to talk about my favourite books of 2015. I have 9 books to talk about and I'm really excited about all of them, so I'm just going to go. The first book I want to talk about is The Bone Season. This is the mix of the most ridiculous genres. This is supernatural, historical fiction, science fiction, and somehow it works. It works beautifully in this story. I can't believe that it does. The writing was fabulous, the world is so interesting. That's why I want to reread it before I read The Mime Order, because that takes place directly afterwards. The romance in this was lovely, I loved it. In this story there are so many different types of power and types of who has the power and things like that. And so there are these, that's sticky stuff. There are so many different types of power within this story, because there are super powered people, sort of like supernatural people, like our main character. Paige is a dream walker and she is part at the beginning of this crew, I suppose, of supernaturally powered people, and there are lots of different ones and they're all very territorial and the government is trying to get rid of them, basically. I definitely recommend it, especially if you like bizarre but doesn't come across bizarre fantasy, or even if you don't, you should definitely still read it. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. V.E. Schwab is just someone you know loves writing stories. You know she loves the story and it just comes across so well. There are 4 types of London, not types, different Londons. Red London has loads of magic, Grey London has no magic whatsoever, and it's kind of like our 1800s in England. White London has a little bit of magic, but not as much. And Black London is closed off, you can't get to it because it's kind of collapsed. But Kel, the main character, can jump between them, and that's all I want to say, because it's just, that's all you need to know. It's just fabulous, it's just wonderful. Her writing's wonderful, the story's wonderful, the world is brilliant. I love it. I love it. I also read the Archive sequel, The Unbound, and that was fabulous as well. Now this one is Graceling by Christian Cashore. I loved it. It was, obviously I loved it, it's on my favourites list. This one, it was just so unique and exciting. It's about a girl called Katza who is graced with killing. There are these children who are called Gracelings and they have 2 different coloured eyes and they're really, really talented at one thing. And Katza is graced with killing. And what more do you want to know? It's just fantastic. This is technically a standalone, although they're a companion series, but I think they take place in different timelines, so it's like the same world effectively, and I haven't read those, but this one was fantastic. So in the last 2 hours since I first filmed this video, I managed to misplace this one, but this one is If You Find Me by Emily Murdoch. It made me think so much. It stayed with me for hours and hours and hours after I read it. The story is about a girl who lives in the forest with her sister and her mother. One day her mother runs away, and then weeks later social services turns up and the girls are reintegrated into civilization. This book, it made you think so much about your own privilege and the world that we live in, or I live in personally. It made me think about what family is like. I'd had it on my shelf for a long time and I wasn't sure if I really wanted to read it. Then I just picked it up and I just flew through it and it was fantastic. There's an undercurrent of mystery as well, so not only is there kind of just this reintegration into society and stuff, but there is this also mystery that you gradually unravels throughout the story. This next one I don't have either because I lent it out to my friend, and it's I'd Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. And also The Sky Is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson, because they're just both fantastic. I think I liked I'll Give You the Sun a bit more, so that's why I'm talking about that one. The writing is fantastic. It was my first Jandy Nelson novel and it was amazing. I love her writing. I think I said in my The Sky Is Everywhere review that it's kind of like if Laini Taylor wrote contemporary, in that, I don't know, they seem to marry up in my head. The story was so wonderful and I didn't know what to expect because I only knew it was about twins and it was kind of about family, and that doesn't usually appeal to me, but this one, it was fantastic. The way art was used, the theme of art throughout the whole book was amazing. I loved it. It was just amazing. And when I finished it, I felt so wonderful and happy, and it wraps up so beautifully for a standalone, but you want more, but you don't need more because it just ended beautifully. But yes, normally dual narratives, I don't really like them. Like, I'll always prefer one person. Every time you read one chapter, you read the other one, you'd be like, oh no, I prefer this one, no, I prefer this one. And the story was so wonderful, and I love both elements of it. And it's just wonderful. Just read it, just do it. The next one I do have, and that is The Rat and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I've never read a retelling or the original of 1001 Nights, but I loved it. This one is a retelling. If you don't know, it's about this king who takes a new bride every day, and the next dawn he kills her, and nobody knows why. I don't know whether you know in the original myth or you find out in the original myth that in all the retellings there's always a different reason. And in this one, you soon find out, I think. Romance in this was fantastic. Always, like, when people talked about the romance before I read it, I'd be like, but he kills all his wives. There really can't be a good reason for this. But you'll see, you'll see. The setting was one of my favourite things about this, because there are very few YA novels set in anywhere but America. And this is set in the Middle East somewhere. I don't think it says specifically. No, it just says in a land. So yeah, so it has all those cultural influences, and I found that so exciting and interesting, and I loved it. Next one is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Oh my god, I love this book so much. It was the best. I loved it. While I loved the plot and the story, the characters are what made it really special. I love the characters and the character dynamics. I love Inej. I love the fact that she's not a Grisha. And if you don't know, this is set in the same world as the Grisha trilogy, although it's entirely different. So I have already read the Grisha trilogy, and I think that probably helped with not focusing too much on the world, because I know it, and I don't need to bother so much. Like, I just took it in, you get on with it. So Inej was not a Grisha. Inej is just really cool. I love her. She's so talented and clever and wonderful. But then all the other characters, I know what I love about them too. And Kaz was so interesting. His backstory, when it was like sprinkled throughout, was so good. I was always wanting to know. You know, when sometimes when they kind of switch back to backstories and you're like, I don't really care. You always care with Kaz. You do, because he's so interesting. Yeah, I love their character dynamic as like a group on the heist thing. Was fabulous. I love that as well. That was really, really good. The next one, I find it quite difficult to have a last book as a favourite book. I don't know why, but it's on the list because it was fabulous, and that's Winter by Marissa Meyer. Oh my god. It's over, is my first thought. This series was so good. If you don't know, it's a retelling of fairy tales, and that sounds terrible and boring. But this series is so much more than that. This wrapped up the story wonderfully. The characters and their character development, and oh my god, I was reading this every day. I was having gaps between lessons and I would just read it. Every time I had a spare moment, I'd read a bit because it was that good and I was that interested in what would happen. And I pretty much read it continuously for like 3 days because I just didn't have enough time to just like get through it. But I don't understand. I read this so quickly. It didn't drag at any point. There was just stuff happening all the time. Fabulous characters. It wrapped up so beautifully. It solved all these problems I was worried about. Yeah, I loved it. It was so good. This last one I first didn't have a copy of. I borrowed it from a lovely lady who works in my college, and I loved it so much I had to buy my own copy so I could lend it to people and reread it. And that is Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Two mega corporations are fighting over this tiny little place on this really small planet, and they invade and take over, and then those people taking on ships and are taken away as like a rescue mission. The story follows on from the day Carenza gets attacked. I kind of forgot about that bit because it's mostly a conspiracy theory and it takes place on board the ship, and people have said it's like zombies, a zombie apocalypse in space. I don't really like that because it's not zombies, and that put me off because I didn't initially. I was like, I'm not sure, I'm not really a zombies person. I don't know, but it's not, it's fine. Despite this being told through like transcripts and IMs and phone calls and stuff like that, it still had this really strong plot and it still kept you gripped the whole way through, and the characters are so definite and individual and wonderful. Yeah, I was cautious because I didn't really like things that are not told in like the standard way, like through transcripts and stuff, always puts me off a bit because some things I really didn't like it in, like in Love Rosie, I felt that because it was written through letters, I felt really distant, I felt outside of the plot and the story, and I didn't enjoy it as much. Conspiracy theories are so cool. I don't think I have the capacity to be a conspiracy theorist, but I will read books about them forever because it's so interesting. The amount of work that must have gone into this is ridiculous. But yes, I loved it. This may be my favourite book of 2015. I'm not sure. Maybe. It might just snag it. Because I read it really recently as well. But then I also really loved them all. This is where it comes into conflict. I don't know which one I love most. I'd say Six of Crows and Illuminate were probably my favourites. And Winter was really, really good, but it was the end book and I can't really have it as a favourite of the series. So these two. These were really, really, really good and everyone should read all of the books. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Bye!